One of the biggest myths out there in the media for quite a few years after 9/11 is this notion that moderate Muslims are going to help us in the war on terror. And consequently, we should try not to offend these so-called moderate Muslims because we need them on our side in order to win the war on terrorism. Here's the problem with that notion, and it's a myth, and I'll explain why it's a myth. Here's the thing. If the so-called moderate Muslims had wanted to help us, they would have helped us. Okay? It's been 13, 14 years after 9/11. They're not helping us. Things are getting worse. So where is this notion coming from that they will help us if we don't offend them and if we get them on our side? Now we haven't been offending them, and we've tried our best to get them on our side, and still they're not helping. So I have no understanding of why people hold on to this belief that the so-called moderate Muslims are the ones who are going to ultimately help us on the war on terror. Because why haven't they helped us already? What would it take for them to help us? This is the question I would like to pose to the people who have this belief that they're going to help us. When and what exactly do we need to do in order to spur them to help us? Because all it looks to me, what it is now is just a pipe dream, and everybody seems to be, there's a bandwagon, and sadly many Republicans are on that bandwagon, and this is what's driving their opposition to what Donald Trump said regarding restricting the immigration of new Muslims coming into the United States. They're all up in arms, from Paul Ryan to Lindsey Graham to the RNC to all the other candidates. They're all worried about being painted as somebody who's going to offend Islam, and then consequently not getting the support of these so-called moderate Muslims to fight the war on terror. But what these people don't understand is all they're engaged in here is a dream. It's a dream. It's a myth. All indications are it will never happen. Okay, we need to give up on that notion that the so-called moderate Muslims are going to help the United States with the war on terror. We need to give it up, and we need to do whatever we need to do, whatever we think is prudent to protect ourselves. And this is where Donald Trump is absolutely right. And many people are saying how it's going to be unconstitutional, blah, blah, blah. As far as I know, people who are not United States citizens are not subject to the protection of the Constitution. And as many people have said, what Donald Trump is proposing, much stricter version of that has been done in the past. And America is at war, and certain situations can be invoked during a time of war. So this opposition to this notion is just like a knee-jerk reaction. I don't think people are really thinking it through in a thoughtful manner. What it is you have these sort of politically correct notions out there, and people buy into them without actually thinking seriously about them. So there is this politically correct notion out there that the so-called moderate Muslims are going to help us with this, and we need not offend them. We shouldn't offend them. We should tread very carefully, and we shouldn't say anything at all that would offend them and push them away from us. I don't know where people have this notion that they're on our side. If they're on our side, why aren't they helping? Why aren't they speaking out? Where is the public demonstration? Since even after 9/11 happened, we haven't had a huge public demonstration in the United States of Muslims showing solidarity with America and opposing the terrorists. We haven't had one. So I don't know what gives these people hope, and what makes them think that there are people who are there are so-called moderate Muslims who are on their side. These people are either afraid, or either don't care, or either ambivalent towards the situation one way or the other, or some of them even support. There is a significant section of them that support jihadism. So what we have here is just a dream, and I'm so happy that Donald Trump is talking about it, because he sees the reality, and he knows that these people are not really on our side. They're being driven, the majority of them are being driven by a hatred for us. So are you going to keep treading carefully and don't want to offend anybody when there are other things you can do? Basically what we have to do is we have to make a choice. We have to make a choice between either we leave ourselves vulnerable and we continue to be politically correct, and we continue to hope and continue to prod the so-called moderates to help us and beg them and whatever else, whatever other words you want to use to kind of get them to help us. I don't believe that they're going to help us, because the evidence is not there. If they would have helped us, if they wanted to help us, they would have helped us already. Okay, so given that it hasn't happened, it is not going to happen. So we need to do whatever we have to do to protect ourselves and not worry about the people we're going to offend. It's that simple.